Did your high school ever have an incident or event? What was it? Adult family members of an expelled student came to the school and in the middle of class proceeded to beat up the teacher who was the reason he was expelled and the janitor who came to see what all the commotion was. Teacher had a bloody nose. Janitor had to be taken out on a stretcher with several broken ribs. My college suspended some students for eating breakfast during a lecture. One of the students decided to upload the hilarious suspension letter in FB which mission suspended for eating or something like that. Pig went viral. Local media caught it, national media caught it. College's day of shame. One kid died in my gym class. We were doing a swimming lesson so everyone was in the pool doing some laps. Learning how to do the different strokes. After some laps the gym teacher has us get out of the pool. A minute or so goes by and someone shouts out there is someone at the bottom of the pool. I don't know if the gym teacher froze up or what. But it was a few seconds before a student finally dove in to drag him out of the pool. The teacher finally snaps out of it and tries to start CPR. And yells for someone to grab the defibrillator from the hallway. He tries to revive the kid. But it was too late unfortunately. The kid was taking some meds, not sure what he was taking. Maybe something for ADD or depression. But the autopsy came back showing he had overdosed on whatever he was taking. So it was a suicide attempt. The kid overdosed before gym class knowing that we were swimming in the pool. It was a really sad day to say the least. It was 5th grade. And recess after lunch had been cancelled because some parents complained about kids not having enough time to eat. Even though you could be dismissed at any time by a teacher and could take as long as you wanted to eat. Everyone was upset. So this kid named Luke and a few of his friends decided to do something about it. Within minutes everybody in the cafeteria was out of their minds screaming we want recess. Swearing. Throwing food at the lunch staff. And several people made a break for it and tried to run out of the lunchroom. Luke and a few others were suspended that day. And luckily their sacrifice meant that recess was reinstated for the rest of us. We now simply refer to the incident as the lunchroom riot. We had race riot. Black kids stole a Viet kids football because they would not cede the field to the black kids at lunch. Bunch of Asian kids weaponized their belts and beat the duck out of a bunch of black kids. Asian kids mobbed up and outnumbered the group of black kids like 2 or 3 to 1. There was probably at least 20 skirmishes spread across the yard where some black kid on the ground was getting the sheet beat out of them by at least 2 Asian kids. Also this other time some kid laced a bunch of food with LSD in the cafeteria. My high school used to allow every other year for the foreign language classes to go to that respective country over spring break. The school decided that the funds weren't there for it anymore but still allowed people to go if they paid for it themselves and parents went with them. Anyways, the German class went to Germany and of course high school age kids will drink over there. Well, the school caught wind and suspended all of them and kicked them out of National Honor Society. The uproar was insane. The school no longer sanctioned the trip nor paid so they didn't have a right to do that. Since also it wasn't during school time. One of the parents of the students is very rich. They threatened the school by not giving their annual donation. Sure enough all students were reinstated. A friend of mine and his girlfriend killed themselves within 2 days of each other after their breakup. It was horrible. Rem had just released Everybody Hurts. And they played it at the girl's funeral. To a group of high schoolers attending their second funeral of a fellow student in less than a week. It was rough. During my sophomore year the student body orchestrated a walkout because most of our electives were being cut to save money. Teachers who were losing their jobs also walked out with us. Classes like auto shop, wood shop, photography, home economics, all gone. The walkout did help as a few were reinstated the following year while others were after my class graduated. Our high school stopped having dances because one girl gave a guy head during an event and got caught. Turns out it was my sister's best friend at the time. I like to think my sister was much classier than that. Edit. People are asking which school. I'm tempted not to say just to rustle some jimmies. Back in HS. A few grades above me there were about 5 people who had some kind of orgy and they all ended up getting herpes. Well, people found out as they usually do. And from that point on, everyone in the area who heard my school's name instantly thought we all had herpes. Funny enough, when on vacation in Colorado, a group I met at the same hotel from Texas had heard about my school's infamy somehow and thought it was hilarious. This was about 3 years after the incident and my school was in Wisconsin. The football team sexually assaulted a mentally challenged girl. This was before I attended said high school. They made a Lifetime movie out of it. It stars the weird girl from The Breakfast Club. One kid dressed up as the Easter Bunny and was throwing candy off of the senior balcony during a lunch period. I remember everyone being really excited until there was a fight over a specific candy bar. I've never been more excited to see teachers run after someone in a bunny suit in my entire life. We had fight week, 23 fights in 7 days. Doubled the cops in our school. My school recently banned doing both the Charlie challenge and sending that effective power text crashes people iPhones. Both had a punishment of a 3-day, out of school, suspension. So many of my classmates got suspended that at one point we only had 5 people in the class instead of the regular 25. I'm so glad that I'm leaving that school. My high school banned water bottles because some girl bought what she thought was vodka in one. Turns out it was rubbing alcohol and she started convulsing and foaming at the mouth during class. She was in the classroom across from mine. It was quite interesting to watch TBH. Senior class took fertilizer and other chemical agents to burn a giant dong into the football field. It could be seen on Google Maps for quite some time. My school was having a spirit week and one of the days was superheroes and supervillains. Like Marvel or DC. Someone came dressed in a full lol outfit because she wanted to be a villain. Bunch of local news stations reported the story and everyone in our area knew about it. A fight broke out in the middle of the hallway while we were switching classes. Everyone crowded around to watch. The school cop burst in about a minute later and tased one of the guys fighting. He hit the floor and a bunch of kids started screaming that he had heart problems and to stop. A kid next to me exclaimed, "Oh shit. They're tasing people." And he took off down the hallway, running at full speed. He hit a corner and slid, falling flat on his face, and a gallon of milk fell out of his backpack and splattered all over the floor. To this day, I don't know why that kid had a gallon of milk at school. Edit. Thanks for the gold, kind stranger. Comma, it made my morning. My high school had some kind of scandal with a music teacher and an underage boy. The school's reputation was so trashed that they had to change the name of the school to keep people from making the association. The speech and debate club was suspended for 2 years after it was revealed that the officers were embezzling club funds. I went to a very boring high school. My high school has a section on its Wikipedia article about the strange incidents that have happened there. The most famous one, it was before my time. But my older sister was there, was the streaker. He greased himself up and ran through the cafeteria. And the police couldn't catch him, so they used a taser. My sister had gone into the separate side room where you buy food. So she didn't see any of it. Just a bunch of shocked, horrified faces when she came back. This girl posted on a transgender YouTube channel saying how she was going to blow up her high school and kill a lot of people. She described how she could do it, and because she was a student teacher she knew how to get away with it and kill the most people. The people on the channel notified police that tracked it down to my high school, and we had a huge lockdown because they had to check for any explosives. My sister works at a high school. A kid shot himself in the head outside of the cafeteria last year. The cool guy Spanish teacher had a long-term relationships with multiple students, even paying for a few abortions. That was like 10 years ago and I had forgotten about it until a guy I knew from high school posted some news footage of the teacher shaking hands with Geraldo Rivera about 2 months ago. Not sure how he's not still in prison. Banned kids stealing keys and having sex in the practice rooms. Word on the streets was they were good at fingering and towing. Couple of fights. Someone hid Jesus figurines all over the place. Gone threat. Nothing too much. Someone did take a brick of potassium and dropped it in a toilet during summer school. It destroyed the toilet. Needless to say, my school doesn't buy potassium anymore. Not high school, but 8th grade. Me and the whole boys pay class was pulled out of class for a day, so the teachers could sniff out the ninja crapper. Apparently someone was stealth crapping in as many places as they could get away with it. It happened in the school hallway, the urinals, the girls' bathroom, the walls, the cafeteria. If you named it the ninja crapper probably crapped there. The school never figured out who did it. And this went on for over a month. An assistant principal was arrested for killing his wife and trying to make it look like a suicide. They made a Dateline or 48 Hours mystery about it. I can't remember, he was a petty nice guy, but not to her, I guess. It never actually happened, but there was a rumor that there was going to be a shooting in my high school because somebody wrote on a bathroom stall in the department store next to the school that it was going to happen. The best part of the day was seeing all the football team coaches standing around with baseball bats and nail boards. A student at my high school shot himself in the chest at lunchtime in front of his ex-girlfriend because she had broken up with him. He did not survive. Edit, typo. I was in my junior year and it was finals week. Everyone usually gets to school about 20 minutes before class starts and we just walk around the place talking with friends. Then all of the teachers started ushering us all toward the road and away from the school. There was an active gun threat. My high school was kind of a magnet school in a decent area, so we had no idea what was going on. Turns out some freshman got scared and called in a gun threat to get out of finals on his own cell phone. We had fun though. One of my classmates was a DJ on the weekends. His pickup truck was a sort of convertible instant party and he stood there killing it for over an hour. We had a pedophile pay teacher who left the year before I arrived. His replacement found this out and instead of reporting this to the police and the school authorities, he wrote letters to all the parents of the children he thought were involved. Then went public to the newspapers. He got fired. And eventually, 6 years later, the pedophile got imprisoned for 12 years. There was this kid with Tourette's who just snapped because no one was helping him. Nobody really liked him since he was rude, attention seeking. He started flipping tables with expensive laptops on them, threatening to shoot up the school and murder every single one of us. The school took it seriously and we had a soft lockdown as they took him away from the class. Haven't really seen him since. People slashed all the tires of all the school systems, buses, and school got cancelled for a few days. It made international news. Still years later no one knows who did it. My classmate in high school set himself on fire at the entrance before school. When I got there was just a wet spot on the concrete where they'd cleaned up his body. He left a note explaining why he did it. Bullied to suicide. Classmate in junior high died from meningitis. No one died during elementary school that I know of. High school, I went to every 4 years stages a drinking and driving accident where someone dies and people spend fake time in jail. Was really dramatic and realistic. Some idiot brought a big tub full of mercury to school once. Spilled it, of course. We had a big hazmat team come to the school and screen all the kids with their gadgets to make sure we weren't gonna develop superpowers or something. Classmate slapped his girlfriend for going to a dance with someone else. A couple of days later, she was not in school. During math, her mom comes in and says to my classmate, "You took a piece of my heart and now I'm going to take a piece of yours." And then she pulls out a Crocodile Dundee-sized Bowie knife, tells everyone to leave, and starts chasing him around the room with it while he and the teacher threw desks at her. She went to prison. Oh. And some kids were playing with bits of sodium or potassium in chemistry class by throwing it in the sink and watching it fizzle. It's normally stored under oil because it reacts in air and violently with water. One kid pocketed it and they took it to the locker room to throw bigger bits in the toilet. They heard someone coming, panicked, and threw the whole thing in and flushed. It blew the toilet in 2 pieces. Edit. No, the girl didn't kill herself. The mom just kept her home because she was going to try to get all stabby at school. We've had quite a few incidents in my HS. Janitor got a student pregnant. School counselor arrested for having sex with a 14-year-old student. English teacher abused a couple 9-year-old girls. Father of one of the girls murdered him. And a huge racial riot 1 year between the Afro-Americans and Native Americans. Edit. I wanted to add that the best thing out of all these incidents is that janitor and student ended up getting married. And are still together. Years ago my school was accused of promoting slavery because of a book included in our curriculum. I think the book was called Slavery. As it was, if I remember correctly, newsworthy. Reporters were outside our school for about a week. ABC News called for a comment. Students were instructed not to talk to any reporters. The rumors got really exaggerated. But it originated from an angry parent. Eventually it blew over.